Everybody, should we defend or ditch this pawn? That's the question that we will discuss in today's episode, folks. Black just played rook c4 and they're attacking our pawn on g4. The question is, should white defend this pawn or should white ditch that pawn? Just give up that pawn, okay? Just take your time. Please stop the video and judge this question in terms of quality and time. There are always trade-offs between those three dimensions in chess: material, quality, and time. So whenever you decide whether that material is worth defending, you should always ask yourself of what this material does to the position, right? For example, is there a function of that pawn on g4 that is actually serving white in this position, okay? And once you ask yourself this question, folks, I'm sure you notice one very important thing here. This pawn is burying that knight on g7. Isn't it beautiful? That's a lovely pattern to remember. Fianchetto knights are terribly restricted by a pawn on g4 here. So this pawn is taking away the quality from black's position, right? That knight has zero activity. So this pawn is a very, very important factor that is giving white an advantage. Thus, we should defend this pawn. And congratulations if you came up with the move rook f4, folks. Exchanging off the only active piece in the black camp and basically entering this position where your pawn is still burying that knight on g7. Lovely, right? Just look at this evaluation phase. Look at the solution steps that landed us to the right decision here, folks. For example, going back to this position, you might say, hey, that rook c6 left the b6 pawn undefended, so I will just go ahead and take it. Well, that will be a big mistake because after rook takes g4, voila, that knight on g7 is no longer a buried piece, it's coming alive, and basically it will be a very difficult task for white to claim an advantage from this position, right? You basically let your beautiful pawn that was serving a great function to disappear by taking that pawn on b6. Compare this with rook f4. Rook d4 is not great because this rook was a great piece on the 7th rank. It depends which piece, right, to trade off that rook on c4. Here, right, black still gains some activity and it won't be so easy for you to activate this rook on f1, right? Again, this single example shows us beautiful steps. You want to really observe this pawn is a good thing for white. You want to exchange off black's only active piece and you're using your, let's say, least active piece to serve this function. Now comes the second question. White just went rook b7 and they are hitting our pawn on b6. Please guys, stop the video and tell me whether that pawn is worth defending or should black just ditch that pawn, okay? Guys, congratulations if you avoided the chess crime of rook a6. Oh my god, that will be a true chess crime if you even considered making such a move. Look at the humiliation of your rook on a6. This rook is crying and you basically left white with an easy advantage. They will improve their king. They will get inside your position. Your pieces are terribly stuck and white has a clear edge. So out of principle, we should reject making moves like this. Our rooks hate defending weak pawns like that. Our rooks like activity. They like to gain coordination. They love to be placed on an open file. So let me know which move is the best. Of course, rook c8. You say, thank you so much for giving me this open c file, right? That's what white did, the drawback principle. The opponent just moved rook from c7 and gave us this chance, right, to occupy the only open file in this position. Obviously, you go here because you gave away material, but you increased the quality of your position. That's the beautiful trade-off. And now you go in, you go h5 to give a luft for your king, right? This pawn can also go forward later on, and black basically is completely fine in this position despite being a pawn down. Why? Because our pieces are better placed. Our king will be more active than this king. Our knight is quickly going to f6 and e4, right? I will just show you some moves. Basically, g3 is a mistake because then you allow my knight to go forward. Rook c2 is a beautiful move. Now you gain coordination between your pieces, and white is basically suffering in this position. Black is already better. Look at their knight. Their knight cannot move. The rook is misplaced. These moves are coming. Look at the change in the position, right? But nothing would happen. None of this will be possible if you play the move rook a6 in this position, folks. Please, I'm showing you these examples because I want to teach you, right? First of all, to sometimes ignore defending pawns like this and thus restricting your pieces, but also evaluation, right? You're increasing your evaluation skills in chess by engaging in these puzzles. You're fighting against materialism. I notice many times as a coach, people have hard time in going beyond the materialistic aspects in chess. They only evaluate positions in terms of material because everyone can count the material. It's the easiest thing to understand. But how do you count, right? The quality of the position. You can't measure it that easily, but they are more important than material, right? For example, king's safety signals great quality in chess, but how do you measure it? It's not that easy to measure. King's safety is more important than material because checkmate ends the game, right? And also here, piece activity is clearly more important for black than that pawn on b6. So far, we looked at those examples where there was a trade-off between material and quality. Now I will show you one more example where the trade-off is in between material and time, right? The time dimension in chess. Black played rook h6 and they're attacking our pawn on h2. Should we defend that pawn or should we just ditch that pawn? You're a great player, folks. If you came up with the move b5. You ditch that pawn, you're focusing on your own plan, and you're gaining time, right? You're gaining time in rolling your pawn. Beautiful passed pawn, rook is behind that pawn, and no one can stop that pawn anymore. You see the beauty of this? White is completely winning this position, there are no checks, and black must resign. Going back to this position, right? Now you're seeing a clear link between material, and time. Black, by engaging in this pawn hunting adventure on the king side, they are losing time and you're gaining that time to push your pawn to the promotion. Beautiful, right? Time element is of course very important in chess. Usually, right, in those middle games with sharp positions, kings on opposite flanks, time becomes very important. So in those positions, you should be even more willing to give up material to increase your time advantage. Also in endgames like this, right, when there are pawns, passed pawns, there's a race, for example, time element is crucial. You always have to engage in those trade-offs. You will never automatically defend your pawns because that's what people do, right? Oh, my pawn is attacked, I must defend. That's a chess crime in its purest form. By engaging in these puzzles, you're also broadening your mind, right? To basically even notice the possibility of ditching your pawn and gaining advantages in chess. Talking about time dimension, I have to show you a Morphy game. Morphy with the black pieces here. He was playing against John William Schulten, which was a very materialistic player. They even wrote this. Schulten was an easy prey for Morphy because he was a greedy chess player. Take and hold was his philosophy. And Morphy, he was a revolutionary player because he understood, right, those three dimensions. He was willing to give up material to gain time and quality of his position. That's what separated Morphy compared to his peers. And I will show you one great example here, folks. Morphy gives up a pawn here. Already, he gave up the first pawn. Now comes the second pawn, right? Just 2 pawns down already here in his position. What did black gain in return, right? Black has the time advantage. Black's king is much safer. His rook is coming to e8. You can already see how Morphy was treating those games, folks. White is losing more time with the bishop. You take, Morphy gives a check. Doesn't take the pawn on d5 yet. Morphy goes bishop g4, exploiting and putting pressure on that pinned bishop on a2. Then comes c4. White's a very greedy player. White just defends their pawn on d5. And here Morphy goes c6. Please stop the video, folks, and tell me whether White should take that pawn on c6 or should White do something else. In other words, should White ditch that pawn on d5? Because if you do something else, you will lose your pawn on d5. Or should White defend their pawn by capturing on c6? Okay, we have two choices. Let's say, how would you treat this position? You're a great player if you ignored taking on c6 and play the move h3 because you put pressure on that bishop, annoying bishop, and you gain time in completing your development. And after takes, castle, white king is fine, you're solving your problems, you still have extra pawn in this position, and white has a slight advantage. Congratulations if this was your choice, folks. Because in the actual game, white player, he was materialistic. He wanted to take that pawn on c6, and look, he gave beautiful knight to c6 to Morphy. He increased the coordination and the quality of the black pieces, and he lost more time. And now look at this. Look at the black pieces. They look dangerous, right? And your king is still stuck in the center. Just look at the connection between white grabbing 2 pawns. White currently has 2 extra pawns, but look at black's compensation in terms of coordination and time, folks. And there's no turning back. Black is having a complete winning advantage because you can't even develop your knight that easily. There are knight d4s coming, takes and knight d4s are coming. Trouble for white. He tried king f1, and now the rest is a Morphy recital. Yeah, look at this. Rook takes e2 followed by knight e4. Bang! There's no turning back. If you give this to Morphy, there is no turning back. And I will show you very quickly this beautiful mating attack that Morphy executed with black pieces. Look at this. A clearance check that pays way for queen d4. 3 attackers, no defenders. You know exactly where this is ending up, right? Look at this. And he resigned here because of the knight e6. You can't prevent a mate in 2 like this. Look at this beautiful mate, folks, right? That's what Morphy does to you if you are too materialistic. This is your homework position, folks. b4 pawn is hanging. Should white defend that pawn or should white ditch that pawn? That's the question. You have an extra exchange in this endgame. So please observe the situation, evaluate the situation, engage in those trade-offs I told you today, and please find a good solution for whites. Folks, I'm working on a Chessable course about this very subject. It will be published very soon, sometime by the end of March this year probably. I truly believe in the value of this training. I noticed many of my students having such materialistic tendencies. They were ignoring those 2 dimensions in chess and they were losing games like this. So I create this multi-purpose course to help them break this barrier, which is around 1500 ELO. People are having this barrier that if they break that barrier, of this materialistic barrier, of course, if they break that barrier, then they can have this breakthrough in their chess training and their chess progress. So that's the function of this course. You will learn how to evaluate chess positions and you will engage constantly on those trade-offs, and that's much more targeted training. For example, here, right, I will give you 2 choices. For example, do you defend or do you do something else? And this way, right, you're also zooming in on the most important question and you engage in those evaluations. I truly believe in the value of this training, and give me feedback, please, whether you like this episode, were you successful in your solutions, do you want me to add something else, do you have other observations? I'm here to listen to your stories. And a pawn is a pawn, obviously, right? Materialism is, of course, an important dimension in chess. They're important, but our beautiful game also has, yeah, trade-offs between quality and time. And we should open up our minds to observe those other dimensions and thus become stronger chess players. That's why we love this game called chess. Thank you so much, folks. Please give me a like and subscribe if you like this video. That's very important for me to be able to produce similar content. I'm here to help you improve your game, and I will catch you on the very next episode. Bye-bye.